of which is the election of officers. The second is the adoption of the bylaws, which the Board of Managers adopted back on February the 11th, or the Board of Managers meeting back on the 11th. The third thing is we're going to have some discussion with our partners over at NRP regarding documents that they need us to sign in support of their application. And then we will have a resolution which we will ask the board to consider and approve. And so that's just an overview of the meeting. The first item would be the election of officers. And my recollection was that Dr. Weber and Dorothy and Roger were willing to serve in the capacities of the chair/president, vice chair, vice president, and secretary, respectively. Is that still something that would be acceptable to the board on a motion?
Robert, do you need a motion for that?
Yes, it needs to be a motion and a second and a vote on that. That's correct. So we can have we can get these officers impaneled.
If there's no discussion, I would certainly make that motion. That's exactly what the board approved the other day. So if you need a motion, I have no problem making that motion if there's no discussion.
I'll second that too.
All right. And is there anybody opposed to that? Looks like that motion carries. Congratulations, Dr. Weber.
What's the pay on that, Robert? I should have asked that before I made.
Well, we're gonna have to wait and talk about that a little bit later. So I want to get you guys on the hook first.
Yeah, how many cookies? I'm gonna make sure there's compensation. Thank you, Robert.
Charlie, that pay is the $200 that to pay back because of the telemedicine report.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we've got our officers, Dr. Weber, Dorothy, Roger. Thank you all very much.
Hey, Robert, this is Jim Plummer. Can you hear me?
Yes, you got good audio, Jim.
Thank you. I do want to reflect that we had asked that both Roberts be added as assistant secretaries. The
Yeah, do
corporation.
you want to take that up now or as part of the resolution? Whatever you think.
Now, just because they're part of the officer corps.
All right. So what Jim is talking about is having, for administrative purposes, signing documents, working with NRP and their partners in terms of discussing and negotiating the term sheet. The board, if it's acceptable on motion, second, and vote by the board, that would have Robert Early and me as assistant secretaries. Obviously, anything dealing with the legal aspects of this, we're going to involve Daphne. But that would at least give the board some flexibility in terms of signing and executing documents that the board has authorized us to sign and execute.
Robert, technical question. Is that an administrative position and a non-voting position?
It's not voting.
Okay. Thank you.
Amendment to the motion that was just passed, or a second motion?
Probably a second one, Roger.
Jim? Yeah, I think it'd be just a second separate motion.
Yes, a second.
Then I'll make that motion.
Yeah.
Could I ask them before we vote on that? Now,
Absolutely.
You, Robert, both Roberts down as assistants. Is that what? I'm just trying to figure out what is the motion. Okay.
Yes.
Well, why would not Delphine be one of those? You would have Robert and maybe Delphine. I'm just asking, why wouldn't that be?
We could now, first of all, Dorothy, let me see if I can allay any concerns. Anything that's going to be legal, Daphne's going to be in on the loop on. Whether or not that she can serve as general counsel and secretary, maybe she can. That's something that we need to get her to weigh in on and Jim to weigh in on. But we have, and we're going to continue to work closely with Daphne in terms of the legal aspects of this. And so she's going to be very involved as we move forward, particularly as we move forward in terms of negotiating the term sheet and the actual lease towards the end of the year. So legal and the administrative functions of, if this is what the board's consensus is, that's going to work hand in hand.
Oh, okay. Well, I just thought if it was working hand in hand, she would have one of those hands there. But I just asked, Delphine, am I off base?
There would be
Jim,
nothing prohibiting it, but it's certainly not necessary. These are administrative roles only. So with Crowder being kind of the project lead internally, it probably makes sense for him to have that second assistant secretary slot, just so he can help sign documents on behalf of the board officers and the PFC. And of course, I would review all of those. So thank you for the question. It's definitely not necessary that I do.
Yeah, and Daphne, that's a good point, because anything if it's, for example, like a lease or anything that has legal implications, it's going to go through legal first, and that would have to be approved by the board. This is only an administrative function to sign, hopefully taking a little bit of the administrative headache off board members from having to sign documents. You're delegating basically a signatory function to us of something that legal has approved and the board has authorized.
Okay.
Do we need a second? Roger, I think you made the motion.
I'll second it.
Second.
Who seconded it? I couldn't hear it.
Trent.
Okay, Trent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, we're in business. Motion passes.
Okay.
I got to get Zim involved here, though.
So the second item of business is the adoption of the bylaws. Again, these are the bylaws that the Board of Managers approved back on February the 11th. And what you should have is what we just emailed to everyone is an exact copy of those bylaws.
I've read through them, and it's the same ones that we already approved, so I'm happy to make the motion to adopt those on behalf of the PFC.
And Trent, go ahead. Thank you, Dorothy.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you, Dorothy. What?
I second it. That's it.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, bylaws, Robert.
All right. Daphne, Jim, what are your thoughts on the certificate for resolution? Do you want to go over that in closed? Do you want to have a discussion about the from our partners at NRP? What is your thinking?
I couldn't hear.
Jim, you're muted.
I mean, if there's additional discussion, Jim, you're muted, but if there's additional discussion that would help the board decide whether or not to approve that resolution, then you might take it in closed.
Yeah.
I think we should have a discussion with NRP about just a briefing on the applicant eligibility certification, because there are a ton of documents that will ultimately be signed in this deal. And one of those documents is a document that is sent to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs called an applicant eligibility certification. And we have made a decision that we will have the chairman and the two assistant secretaries be the parties authorized to sign for the entity under this resolution. And therefore, those three parties will need to sign this affidavit, this application certificate. But there is a small chance that the TDHCA could come back and say, we want all of the board members to sign this certification. And so we wanted to give you a very quick briefing of what this certification is in case we have to come back to you. It stated very simply, we don't think that we're going to have to do this, but if we have to do it, it's going to be a situation where we need to get signatures in 5 days.
So Jim, can I pause you? Because I think we might need to go into close for this discussion.
We can, but I think, okay, if you want to, we can, but all this really is to give the boards a heads up so we won't be surprising them in the future. But we can go into close if you like for that.
Yeah, I think so. That's Daphne's advice, and I think that's it.
David, are you good?
Yeah, you let me know when are you guys ready to go closed right now?
Dr. Weber, you ready to go into close?
We're ready. Let's go. We're ready. Let's do it.
Okay, hold on just 1 second, guys. Just take it just a second. So hold on.
We're reconvening an open session to conduct one last business, and that is the certificate for resolution of the organization. And
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that the Public Finance Corporation adopt the non-binding resolution inducing the Magnolia Lofts Apartments in partnership with NRP and Wynn Jackson to be located on a tract of land located at 300 East Magnolia Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, and authorizing negotiation and execution of a term sheet and other matters in connection therewith.
thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Anybody, any further discussion? Please say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Is that the only business that we have to conduct now, Daphne?
I believe that concludes your agenda. Robert Browder, did you have anything else?
That's it. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
We thought for you committee members, we would just have one more committee after this. We don't even know what the name of it is, but we thought we'd gather y'all just for another one. No, don't say the name.
Have another meeting at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, don't say that. All right.
The other meeting is Robert Early Pies.